The Giants can't wait forever. First base and the rotation both need a shakeup, and the clock is ticking.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting this show for over 6 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, so check us out there if you have not already, and please just hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the Giants getting swept by the Minnesota Twins. And basically, to me, the big takeaway is not just that series, a couple of one-run losses and a two-run loss, so really just a tight series and none of the games went your way ultimately, but it's kind of big picture time because at this point, the Giants have played almost that sweet spot number of games where you start to say, okay, you have a good idea of the team. They've played 41 games, and generally the number that I throw out there is like 45, where teams really kind of first start to feel like they have a good idea of their roster and where they stand. And so the Giants, they do stand in an okay position. They're only 3 back of the Dodgers in the division, and they hold a playoff spot with a 2-game lead as the third wildcard team. And so, yeah, it's a little early to be looking at the standings, but it's just a good check-in. And when you get, though, down to the individual players on the team, there are certainly some positions and some players that stand out. And the first one is, in fact, Lamont Wade Jr., who I was really hoping would go into Minnesota and have a good series against the team that traded him to the Giants. But instead, he fell backwards. Like, he was starting to show some signs of life. But then in this series against the Twins, he did not have a hit. He hit, 0 with a 100 on base percentage and 0 slugging, minus 63 weighted runs created plus. Just a non-factor. And worse than a non-factor, Lamont Wade Jr. has been, according to Fangraphs, the second least valuable player in baseball, at least position player in baseball this year at -1 wins above replacement. So that means like the average replacement level type player would give the Giants a whole extra win, would have given the Giants a whole extra win versus what they've received by the play of Lamont Wade Jr. this season. And that certainly matches the eye test, as he's hitting 145 with a 246 on base and 245 slugging. It's just abysmal numbers. He knows it. You know it. I know it. The team knows it. Everybody knows it. And you're just waiting for him to come around. And I think that eventually he will be better. But at the same time, I'm not so sure you can just keep throwing him out there in your lineup as soon as you have an opportunity to do something else. And so I was the Giants haven't released like on their media Twitter handle where they used to at least release medical updates, and so I kind of was wondering the status of Jerar Encarnación. But Susan Slusser, I think it was in a tweet, said that Bob Melvin said that Jerar Encarnación will be at first base in his first rehab game tonight, and that was 2 days ago on May 10th. And she continues, that might be where Encarnación gets the bulk of his at-bats when he returns. The Giants like keeping Wilmer Flores healthy in the DH spot. And so that would, like, to me, it would be time to try something else at the very least against left-handed pitching. I think even when there's a lefty starter, they are not going to Lamont Wade Jr., but Wade is like starting against right-handed pitching, and then they're not pinch hitting for him when there's a lefty out there. So he's just been like an automatic out, and it's been amazing. Like, they showed, I forget who he was facing at the time, but he swung over a pitch like his barrel was just so far away from where the ball actually was. Like, so he's just off. He's not seeing the ball well at all. Clearly right now, it's not just a luck thing anymore. He's slumping big time. And Encarnación is a guy who is very intriguing because, reasons we've talked about a lot. And hey, he's played in 2 games at AAA and so far has hit 429, 500 on base, 571 slugging. So call him up tonight. I'm kind of joking, but also not, because I don't know. If you look at some of the projections, actually, like Steamer projection system has him as 10% above average. And again, this is a projection. Pretty much all of the projection systems see Encarnación as at least about average, if not above average. And that's without really proving himself yet at the major league level. In fact, he's overall struggled at the major league level, given that he played for the Marlins in 2022 and was really bad. And then last year with the Giants, he was all right, but the expected numbers were significantly better than the actual numbers. And I've pointed this out a gazillion times, but he's only 27. He has less than a year of service time, and he's out of minor league options. And so you can't send him to the minor leagues. I know he's in the minor leagues right now, but that's a rehab assignment. It's a different situation. But when he's ready, I think that I would, at the very least, like, give him those at-bats against lefties. And if he hits at all, then I would and Lamont Wade continues to struggle, I would start starting him against righties. And I think, you would have a situation on your hands where you have to decide, do you want to keep Lamont Wade Jr. on your roster, or do you want to keep a young player who has more years of team control and possible upside, like David Villar, who's also out of options and has been DFA'd once already, went unclaimed. I don't love the roster fit with VR as opposed to Wade, but like moving Wade to the bench and having him as someone who can pinch hit in a ideal situation, in an ideal matchup, and instead, not just getting everyday starts at first base, is probably the way to go at this point. And so when Encarnación is ready, I think the likely move is that they would DFA VR again. He would probably elect free agency. Last time he was unable because he cleared waivers and the Giants were able to outright him to AAA. But they can't do that more than once. You can only do that one time to a player. And so this time, if they DFA'd him and he went unclaimed, he would probably elect free agency and could sign a minor league deal or a major league deal with any team. So you're probably going to lose VR if he's the move. So some would say maybe you DFA Wade instead. If they were both right-handed, that might make sense. But with Wade being a lefty, I think that's a much better kind of fit for the rest of the season. And also Wade has done something at the major league level and VR really hasn't. So that's my thoughts on the first base situation. I did not realize just how close Encarnación was to returning. That is good because they need to make a change. Like, they need to try something else. And right now they're kind of limited in what they can try. But once Encarnación is back, it's a different story, and he is close to being back. So coming up in just a minute, we'll look at what I was saying about the starting pitcher position and how I think they need to make a change there as well. And how about Elliot Ramos making a leap in a sweep? We'll get into it in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. And that's the beauty of it for me. So you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. The convenience of having everything in one place is just, I'm telling you, if you don't do this already, it is game changing for your finances. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can just use Monarch to have your finances and tracking your spending and long-term goals in one hub. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you in part by Trade Coffee. Let's be real. Coffee isn't just a drink. It is a ritual. It is a lifeline. It's that thing that gets me from half asleep to fully functioning. And if it's that essential, why settle on anything less than amazing? That's where Trade Coffee comes in. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S., delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-over purist, they've got the roast that you'll love. I went and took the quiz, and it established what kind of coffee was right for me, and I have it right here, and it is unbelievable. If you can see it on YouTube, I wish you could smell it through the microphone. It just smells unbelievable. The taste is unbelievable. This is already my second bag. It's Flores Belas, and it's just absolutely delicious, and they can personalize whatever is right for you by taking that quiz. So it's the best coffee I've ever had. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB. That's drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB for 50% off your 1-month trial. All right, here we go. We're going to get into the starting pitching, and how it's time to make a change. But who I think they need to change out is not maybe who you'd think. And also Elliot Ramos. How about this guy? This guy just has taken a leap in the last couple weeks, where he's just been on an unbelievable tear, and that's a very good sign for the Giants, despite getting swept by the Twins. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow we're going to be breaking this down, game 1 of the Giants and the Diamondbacks. This is a big series. You got Justin Verlander on the mound going for win #1 again, and Merrill Kelly, who's historically given the Giants fits, going for the D-backs. It's a big series because at the end of the year, the D-backs and the Giants figure to be battling for one of the wild card spots most likely, and so D-backs are really trying to make up ground on the Giants, and the Giants are going to try to do the opposite and push the D-backs down and gain ground themselves on, Anyway, so the pitching, after we've already discussed Wade, I think that they need to make a change, or at the very least, they would be better off making a change in the rotation when you've got Hayden Birdsong and Kyle Harrison just throwing the ball so well out of the bullpen. Hayden Birdsong on the season now, he's thrown 20 1/3 innings, which is like half that of Landon Roop, for example. And Kyle Harrison's only thrown 3, but they've been 3 spectacular innings. Hayden Birdsong, like, my goodness, that changeup grade is just off the charts in terms of its quality. He has a 1.33 ERA, a 3.31 expected ERA, .356 fielding independent pitching, strikeout rate 26%. And then Kyle Harrison, former like top 15 prospect in baseball, suddenly throwing upper 90s and perhaps wasted a little bit in the bullpen. I mean, he was making starts in the minors, so he was built up, ready to start. He had made 6 outings. They were all starts. He had never pitched out of the bullpen until these last 2 outings that he's made. And in AAA, Harrison was just dominant. He struck out a third of all batters he faced, which is a very high rate. He didn't walk a lot of people, only 7%. His ERA in a very hitter-friendly league was only 3.46. Fielding independent pitching, 3.01. There's just a ton to like now still about Kyle Harrison. And for me, it's not Jordan Hicks. It is not Jordan Hicks to me, who I think should be removed from the rotation just yet. I think that Landon Roop could use a little bit of a break. It's consistently been a similar type of outing that we've seen out of Landon Roop. Now, granted, the expected numbers are still much better than the actual results, and his strikeout rate is solid, his walk rate is solid, but he's got a 4.95 ERA. The expected ERA is 3.43. Fielding independent pitching is 4.02, but that kind of is inflated a little bit by his home runs allowed, which now he's allowed 6 in 40 innings, and home runs allowed are kind of notoriously take forever to stabilize. So I don't know. I just think he could use maybe a mental reset where he goes into the bullpen. Don't have to send him down. You could just like swap him out with either Birdsong or Harrison and just see if one of them can catch fire. Because for Roop, it's just like, yeah, the expected numbers are solid, but the outings are just really similar where he pitches okay, but that he kind of gets burned on a curveball or two for a home run. And I don't know. And with Hicks, this is the thing I want to point out. Like, when you look at the stuff quality and you look at the expected numbers, he's got a 5.82 ERA, but a 3.58 expected ERA. And for Roop, it's 3.43. So there's 2 guys right there. Roop's is a little bit better, but Hicks's fielding independent pitching is 3.19 versus 4.02 for Roop. And the expected fielding independent pitching, which kind of normalizes the home run rate, 3.57 for Hicks, and for Roop, it's 3.55. And finally, this number Sierra, SI, and then earned run average. I forget what the SI, skill interactive ERA, and it tries to take into account like the quality of the opponents, I think, that you're facing. I read about it and I kind of forget exactly what, but it's a legitimate statistic. And 3.73 for Roop and 3.60 for Hicks. And so, look, you could go either way, but with Roop being a young player and clearly like frustrated, I think Hicks can handle the disappointment a little bit better because he's established and getting paid, and like he knows what he needs to do. And I don't know. I really think like Hicks's bowling ball stuff can play, and I think Roop's can play too. But you've just got 2 young guns ready to go in Birdsong and Harrison, and just mixing it up at this point would, I think, not be a bad thing. And mostly what I'm seeing is frustration, visible frustration out of Landon Roop, and a little mental reset wouldn't be the worst thing for him. And I don't know if who you put in there, if it's Birdsong or Harrison, but I would like to see them try, because those guys could dominate potentially, and we're not seeing Roop dominate. So it's just worth a look, in my opinion, and Hicks deserves more shots, in my opinion, which may be a little bit controversial, but I just think given time, like his ERA is inflated. He's not stranding nearly as many runners as you would expect. And I fully expect that that number will tick up and that his ERA will continue to go down. So anyway, let's talk about Elliot Ramos, who would be the story if the Giants could have pulled off a Sunday's game where they really looked like they had a good chance to win. Elliot Ramos would have been the main event on this podcast, but instead it's about the negative things because they lost. They got swept. But Elliot Ramos suddenly is hitting 278 with a 347 on base and a 483 slugging. That's 33% above average offense. And this is a guy who not long ago had kind of ticked to a little bit below average offensively. He also made a couple of almost identical like diving catches. Also got picked off third base in a one-run game. That wasn't ideal. But nonetheless, the bat of Elliot Ramos is looking like one of the bigger bright spots of the season so far for the Giants. So we'll dive into that a little bit more and discuss the Arizona Diamondbacks coming into town tonight. There's no time to mope because they play tonight against an important team in this race. So we'll get into all of that in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk. I've always got some on my desk right here. You can see on YouTube. Or if you're on a road trip or you just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, as promised, we're going to get into Elliot Ramos a little bit and how his hot streak is so encouraging. And also, there's no time to mope about getting swept in Minnesota as the Arizona Diamondbacks are in town. First meeting between these two teams, I believe, this season. I'll double check that. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers tomorrow. We'll be breaking down, are the Giants going to blow another Justin Verlander win opportunity? Ryan Walker, once again, kind of failed to come through in a big spot in the finale. So maybe time to make a change at closer as well. I didn't even mention that, but they've got options, man. They've got Camilo Doval throwing well, Tyler Rogers throwing well, Randy Rodriguez throwing very well and kind of creeping up the ladder in terms of his role. So big game tonight, and Merrill Kelly, nemesis of the Giants, soft thrower, gives him a hard time. We'll see if they can crack the Kelly code, and we'll break it down tomorrow. So Elliot Ramos, those numbers are just so encouraging to me, and a 362 weighted on base average with a 365 expected weighted on base average. So those are just way above average offensive numbers. Like, I'm going to tell you what league average hitters do. So the league average batter this year is hitting 243. So please adjust your expectations about batting average. 243 is the major league average. Okay. And Ramos is hitting, what did I say? 278. So that's way better than average. For batting average. For on-base percentage, league average is 316. Ramos is at 347. League average slugging is just 392. The number starts with a 3, folks. 392 slugging is average, and Ramos is at 483. So the slugging minus batting average, the league average, that's called isolated power, is 149, and Ramos is at 205. And so all of a sudden, like, you've got a significant sample here of last year and this year combined, almost 700 plate appearances for Ramos, 161 games. So the next game he plays in will be a full season. So tonight almost certainly will be that game. If he hits a homer, it would be 30. He's got 29 homers in 161 games the last 2 years combined. And he, like, the numbers he put up last year are really similar in terms of, like, the isolated power was 200. This year it's 205. The home run to fly ball ratio last year was 17.3. This year it's 17.5. The barrel rate last year was 14.5. This year it's 14.2. Batting average on balls in play last year 329. This year 330. Like, these are almost identical numbers. And if you combine it all, he's been 23% above average the last 2 years combined. And so for the Giants to finally seemingly have, like, developed a good homegrown outfielder is just something to marvel at, or not marvel at, but to be excited about. And it happened at the perfect time because he was out of options. And so he needed to break through. Otherwise, they would have had to, like, DFA him. And what if this had happened with another team? You know, like, if they had DFA'd him and, like, the Rays picked him up, or heaven forbid the Dodgers picked him up and he just went off for them. It's a very good thing that they gave him a long leash and he kind of took it and ran with it, because his first couple years in the major leagues were not good in limited playing time. So I'm just super excited about Elliot Ramos, and you know, he's moving up in the lineup. I kind of was feeling that way, like he should move up, and maybe it's time. There's a lot of things, like, it's funny, it's right about at this point of the season where you can kind of confidently say a few things, and one of those things is that maybe it's time to move Willy Adames down in the lineup. He just continues to struggle, and Ramos is red hot, and I don't know, you know, Adames hitting. You've got some guys struggling for sure. Like Patrick Bailey has really yet to get it going at all. Wade, of course, we talked about, and Adames. Christian Koss, like, gets a hit here and there. Sam Huff, you know, they've got some guys who haven't done much, but they've also got Yastrzemski, Jung-Hoo Lee, who's been slumping, but still overall good numbers. Chapman and Ramos, those guys have been good offensively. And I don't know, just to see Ramos, I discussed this before, but he's even exceeded expectations for me with this hot streak. But he went into a big slump. Like this year, he started off well in the first week, and then he had like a rolling 15-game weighted runs created plus of like 50, meaning in his most recent 15 games, as of like the 20th-ish of April, he was about 50% below average in a 15-game period. And suddenly now he's at 121% above average in his most recent 15 games. So to see him go through struggles, but then very much come out of it, is the sign of a player who belongs at the major league level. And it gives that player confidence. Like, okay, I may go through a slump, but I'm going to come out of it and be awesome on the other end. And he's done it a few times now. Like, he slumped bad in September of last year, and then he got out of it by the end of the year, and then he slumped bad this year in mid-April, and then he really got out of it, and he's been red hot. So way to go, Elliot Ramos. It's just great. I mean, he's 25 years old, pretty much all season, not eligible to be a free agent until after the 2029 season. Maybe you think about like extension talk, to be honest. Like try to get a couple years, 2-3 years of his free agent years locked up with like club options by guaranteeing him money in his years when he's not yet eligible to be a free agent. It's kind of a common tactic in terms of how you structure a contract like that, but he showed me enough where I believe he's an above average offensive player for sure. I mean, nothing is certain, but I'm just impressed and very pleased that they've got a 25-year-old left fielder that they drafted in the first round, doing well. It's just a great thing for the team, and I'm happy for Ramos himself. So lastly, no time to mope. As Arizona comes into town, they have had a season where they've just kind of hovered around 500. They've got this thing going where they have scored a ton of runs. Actually, not that many more than the Giants, to be honest. But the Giants have scored a decent number of runs themselves, despite maybe getting, I don't want to say lucky, but just hitting well in important situations. The D-backs, though, like their offense has graded as better just in a context-neutral situation. They grade as 12% above average, and the Giants are at 5% below average. So that's 17-point difference between Arizona and the Giants. And the D-backs also didn't have Ketel Marte, one of their best hitters, for a significant stretch. And so the problem is the D-backs pitching has not been good. Their pitching ranks like towards the very bottom of the league. They've got a 4.60 team ERA. Merrill Kelly, who's pitching tonight, has an ERA of 4.09, expected ERA 4.95, and yet he has always stifled the Giants. And so I'm going to be very interested to see, can the Giants take advantage of D-backs pitching? Like Giants' somewhat rough offense, can it do well against a pitching staff that hasn't done well? D-backs bullpen has a 5.02 ERA, by the way. Giants are at number 1 actually now, suddenly. Geez, the Padres must have blown up a little bit. Giants number 1 in ERA and by a bullpen at 2.53, and the D-backs are 25th at 5.02. So that's what I'm looking out for, is can the Giants bats that have overall been below average do something against the D-backs pitching, which has been among the worst in the league, and also can your good pitching slow down their good bats? So the D-backs, that's their problem, is they score a lot of runs, but they allow a lot of runs. So we'll see how it all plays out at chilly Oracle Park. Probably a Merrill Kelly gem, but maybe the Giants can eke out a couple runs and hopefully keep the D-backs bats down. Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. We'll be breaking it down tomorrow. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter /X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out tremendously. So thank you in advance, and thanks to everyone who's done so already. I cannot wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening today. You are now Locked On Giants.